Hi, I'm Erin Rainwater, author and storyteller of inspirational historical fiction. Welcome to my channel, where you can listen to free audio recordings of my novels, read by yours truly, starting with my award-winning Civil War novel, True Colors. And when that is complete, then I plan to narrate my second novel, set in 1860s Colorado, The Arrow That Flieth by Day. And that title was taken from a verse in Psalm 91. The historical details that you'll hear throughout these stories have been thoroughly researched, and I think you will find some of them quite entertaining, as well as educational and hopefully edifying. You will hear one chapter in each video episode, read again by me, no AI voice or text, and I do hold the copyright on all of my books. At the end of each chapter, I will be back for brief comments about what just took place and also to give a peek into what's coming in the next episode. So today we'll start with chapter 1 of True Colors, where you will be transported back into time to 1861 Alexandria, Virginia, and meet nurse Cassie Golden. This courageous and dedicated young woman is a physician's daughter, raised on a Pennsylvania farm, but who now feels called to use the skills she learned from her father to care for the sick and injured soldiers of the early battles of the Civil War, which back then was more commonly referred to as the War between the States, or as the Southerners preferred to call it, the War of Northern Aggression. These men are her heroes, whose bravery and sacrifice weigh heavily on her, just as our service members weigh on us today. Her war is not with enemy soldiers, but with battles of the heart and the will. Only truth can conquer this type of foe, and truth is in short supply. So let's get into the action.
True Colors. Many waters cannot quench love, nor can the floods drown it. King Solomon. Chapter 1. Nurse! Cassie! Help me! I can't see! I turned at the call of my name, my eyes searching the rows of Union wounded before settling on the terror-stricken young corporal. I raced to his side, slipped my fingers under his hands, and drew them away from his badly burned and contused face. His sightless eyes, scarred over from the close blast of a Mississippi musket fired in haste, explored the darkness for me. "I'm here, Corporal Townsend." He found my shoulders and gripped them. I could verily feel the terror in them. "Cassie, I can't see. Help me." His hands returned to his face, his fingertips daring to dab the still raw area around his eyes. I took hold of his hands again. "You know the doctor said those bandages should not be removed for at least another week." My words came more harshly than I meant for them to, my anxiety over his condition having taken the form of a reprimand. From whence came the source of the strength it took for him to wring free from my grip I did not know. He grappled in panic with me and Tess Dupree, the other nurse on duty that evening in our Alexandria, Virginia hospital ward, as we tried to lay him back down. In the 2 months since I had left Pennsylvania to work as a government nurse, such wrestling matches had become commonplace. Enlisting the aid of an orderly and a couple of patients, we managed to get a sedative down him. Once its effect calmed him, I placed a clean set of eye patches, rewrapped gauze around his head to keep them in place, and applied salve to the other burned areas on his face. I then turned my attention to redressing his flank wound where a red bayonet had stopped just shy of the left kidney. A green malodorous purulence exuded from the cavity in his side along with blood and serum, repelling my nostrils. I knew it would not be long before the infection claimed him. At last he fell into a restless sleep as I stood at his bedside holding his hand. Only now, with the urgency and arduous strain of the past half-hour behind me, could I consider the fright and the soul-felt pain in those hands that had grasped my shoulders in a plea for help. Only now were there tears to put under restraint. Only now could I grieve for him. That feeling returned then, the one from deep within that questioned whether I could continue this work much longer. I felt it more often and ever stronger, until it was nearly as powerful as had been the calling to come and care for these champions of mine. This federal hospital where my life had merged with theirs was in fact a hotel that had been appropriated by the government and turned into an infirmary. This particular ward had replaced the formal dining room. The menu now consisted of quinine, opium, calomel, and mercurial ointments and the like. The clientele now was made up of patients whose bodies bore the scars and wounds of an exceptionally violent and bloody battle. The next several hours went by in my usual routine, changing linens, administering painkillers, painting wounds with iodine, and aiding Colonel Borman, our chief surgeon, in changing dressings and bleeding patients whose lungs were filling with fluid. In the spare moments between procedures, I rolled bandages, rinsed off bloody instruments with chlorine water, and then laid them out to air dry for their next use, and applied cool compresses to feverish foreheads. And there was the task of diligently maintaining medical records on each patient, since the government's pension system relied upon accurate documentation. By 11 o'clock that evening, an hour before the end of my shift, the effects of another strenuous day were taking their toll. Approaching a sleeping infantryman who had sustained a fractured femur, I rubbed my hands together to warm them before gently touching his foot to assess his circulation. The skin was warm, the pulses strong. He was one of the fortunate ones. A healing wound, good circulation, no sign of infection. I delicately pulled the blanket up to his chest. He jolted awake, came partway off the cot, and snatched both of my wrists in a strangling grip. "It's all right, Sergeant Levitt. It's me, Cassie. You're in a hospital, remember? It's all right now." His wide eyes cast in all directions around the dim hall before settling on me. "It's all right. You're safe here." His deep, erratic breathing began to slow. The muscles in his torso relaxed. Levitt, could you..." I nodded to the powerful hands still clutching my now numbing wrists. He released me and sunk back on his mattress. "I'm so sorry, Miss Cassie. It's my own fault for startling you. I should know better by now." As I rose and turned, he again grabbed my wrist. "Wait, please, Miss Cassie. There's something I need to ask of you." Trying to dispel his ongoing disquietude, I asked, "You're not going to propose to me too, are you, Levitt?" He smiled and relaxed a bit more. "The thought had crossed my mind. You certainly are a lovely sight on eyes that have seen the devil himself." His voice lowered. "But Cassie, I need a tremendous favor. Believe me, I wouldn't ask this of just anyone, and wouldn't ask at all if it wasn't so important." "What is it?" "Among the belongings I brought here is a book, a red leather-bound book with gold lettering on the cover. We lock all such personal effects in a storeroom at the end of the ward. You've no need to worry. You know that room isn't very secure. Please, Cassie." He pulled me closer. "Get that book out of there." All right. I'll get it for you now." "No, I need you to... Could you take it home with you?" Many odd petitions had come my way from soldiers whose confrontations with death left them with a need for immediate attention to unfinished tasks. I had learned early on not to question the private nature of such requests. "Well, I suppose I could use a good book to cozy up with on these dreary autumn nights." With a sigh of relief, he released my arm. "It's not exactly what I'd call light reading. But you know, beautiful, when I get out of here, I can come by for it and cozy up to you myself. Careful, Levitt, lest your other leg get broken in the attempt. Now, get some sleep." I moved on to the other cots to provide a final comfort measure to those patients still unable to sleep. Each offered a grateful smile or wink or squeeze of my hand that filled me with a type of satisfaction unknown to me before coming to care for these defenders of my country. Each had his own story to tell. Each had a hope, a dream, a someone. They shared with me their memories of moonlit nights, the scent of honeysuckle blossoms, and the feel of soft lips. There were the war stories, too, the overpowering fears and the wondrous victories. After the patients were settled, I proceeded to the wood pile in the corner of the room. Taking up an armful of fuel to add to the stoves, I turned and caught my breath upon nearly colliding with a man in a blue uniform. "I am sorry if I frightened you, nurse." He was tall, with dark hair, but I could make out little else of his appearance, since the nearest gaslight had long since been dimmed. What light there was did enhance, however, the gold braids of his uniform sleeve and leaf clusters on his epaulettes. I gathered my wits along with the wood I'd almost dropped. "That's quite all right, Major. Is there something I can do for you?" "I came to see a patient. It's well past hours for visitation. You'll have to come back tomorrow. But it's imperative that I see him as soon as possible. This isn't just a social call." "What's imperative is that you leave here now, Major. The patients are all settled, which is no easy task. I'll not let you disturb even one of them. They all need their sleep if they're going to heal properly." His eyes peered through the dimly lit room, scanning the beds, unable to pick out the target of his urgent call. "Nurse, I'm on government business. And I'm on government business as well, Major. It's my business to see that these soldiers get proper care, and I intend to see they get it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got to get some heat into this room." Recognizing defeat when it stared him in the face, the officer acquiesced. "Here," he said, relieving me of a portion of my burden. "Let me help you with that." He took the wood from my arms and fed it to the starving embers in one of the stoves. As I stoked the fire in the other stove, he came and stood by it. The growing blaze lit up a small area around the stove, and the yellow light cast a warm glow on the officer's face. "Thank you for your help, Major, and I apologize if I seemed harsh earlier. You had every right. In this place," he gestured toward the rows of cots, "you outrank us all, and I apologize for my insubordination. Next time you'll get a lashing." He snapped to attention and gave me a salute of fine precision. "Yes, sir," he said too loudly, and I silenced him with a finger to my lips. We laughed under our breaths. I accompanied him to the door of the ward. He saluted Tess, too, as she passed. Not the friendliest of people, she merely turned her head away. "What time are visitations tomorrow?" he asked. "Not before 10 o'clock. He slowed his pace and turned his hat several times in his hands. "And, what time do you come on duty?" "Noon." He offered a slight bow, and then headed for the door. There was a skip in his step. As he firmly settled his hat on his head, I heard him repeat, "Noon."
So, we have patients with unusual requests. Handsome officer who acknowledges just who is the boss of him. And Cassie, tired, careworn, and now questioning the validity of her calling after all. Will she be too overwhelmed to continue caring for her soldiers? Will she soldier on? Is there romance in the air? Join her next time to see what develops from these encounters of this evening, and let me know in the comments where you think this night might lead. Be sure to look for Chapter 2 soon. Like and subscribe if you feel so led, and I also invite you to join me at my virtual fireside, as I like to call it, at erinrainwater.com, where you can learn more about the stories I wrote and about my background as an Army nurse. See you next time.